All right, Harry. Jesus tells us to pick up our cross and follow him daily, right? But that sounds like a lot of suffering. Is that something we're to expect in the Christian faith?
Yeah, and okay, that's a good question. Who wants to suffer? The answer is always the same: no one.
Hmm.
But who suffered more than anyone ever?
I would say Jesus, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And there was, so the answer is Jesus, the co-creator of heaven and earth. He chose to suffer so that we can all live. Jesus said about himself in Luke 9:22, the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected and killed and rise the third day.
And you know, it's one thing that just kind of came to me right now when we're talking about this. From his suffering, he reaped the reward of being at the right hand of God, seated
Yeah,
at the right hand of God. Isn't that something beautiful?
yeah, yeah, yeah. In Acts 9:16, Jesus says this about Paul to Ananias, and he says, "I will show him how much he must suffer for my name." And then in Romans 8:18, Paul says about suffering that our present sufferings not worth comparing to the glory that's going to be revealed in us. So there's but then I got thinking about my own parents. My parents were teenagers in Europe in the war. Not easy, but it made them stronger. After the war, they emigrated to Canada, but that was also hard.
Hmm.
Our society today wants to prevent suffering at all costs, particularly for the young people. The outcome of that is anxiety, depression, and suicide. That wasn't the problem when my parents were growing up. The only place you'll ever find easy is under E in the dictionary. Doesn't matter where else. There's no, like, life doesn't happen easy ever. You make wrong choices, right choices. Life is always hard.
Now, Harry, I have a quick question for
Yep.
you. So, when your parents they did all this suffering, did they ever express to you that they had joy or peace during it all?
They're proud of that. They really felt good about having endured that and conquered, as you might say. It wasn't, they weren't enjoying it at the time, for sure. It was horrible, but they feel pleased that they got through it and they were the stronger and the better for it. And I'm grateful to have been raised in a family that went through that
Mm,
because they taught us, structure also in that sense.
right on.
Yeah. And our only need in life is to choose right and stand strong. We don't choose to suffer, but as we choose right and stand strong, we will suffer, but we all do. We all suffer. If we make right choices in life, it's hard to do, but we'll enjoy the harvest. Poor choices in life, they're also hard, but there's no harvest.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's really sad because we know too, like in all aspects, everybody that has succeeded at anything, it never came easy.
Hmm.
The gospel's not easy, but nothing is easy. Life is hard, always hard, but making right choices gives a beautiful outcome. But life is hard.
Amen. And that's something to think about. Just as Jesus reaped the right hand of God, it's something at least that when we're suffering now, that it's a huge blessing in the end.
Yeah, because again, we also can spend eternity with him in that same presence. That is so beautiful. The little bit of suffering that we're going to go through, and we're going to suffer anyway, but at
Mhm.
least we're suffering
Or
forward.
something worthy. And that's what I'm saying. Like you could suffer at a job and take away family time. That's a suffering, and you're working more for money, but that's going to perish anyways. At least this suffering is eternal, and we get to spend eternity with the Father.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's glorious, and it's worth it for sure.
Amen. Thanks, Harry.
Good.